Hey, welcome to, you know what? I really don't know what this is. Basically, I am an author. I have published 13 books, so most of them are self help books. I'm in the process of publishing my first science fiction novel. However, this is not it. This is words that I have put down in my phone's notepad while I'm having my oil changed, waiting on the doctor to call me back. Basically, when I'm in a situation where I'm just sitting around waiting, I pull my phone out and I add a paragraph to this story. Okay? It hasn't been redone, it hasn't been checked, it hasn't been proofread, nothing. This is the raw words that I originally put down. What I'm going to try to do is every week I'm going to try to record one chapter for YouTube. If you like this type of thing or if you're interested, please subscribe. And let's see where it goes. Okay? The No Name Book, Chapter 1. I never properly thanked you for saving my life. Dane looked gratefully towards William as they sat shoulder to shoulder overlooking the battle arena. Don't mention it, Dane. The Coalition needed a pilot and I just mentioned your name. It's not like I have any pull. Besides that, I hate to say this, but one day I'll need a favor. I promise not to ask you to kill someone, William said sarcastically and ended it with a heartfelt chuckle. Dane blurted out immediately, I'll do anything for you and Helen, and I mean that. Will turned to look at Dane and noticed out of the corner of his eye that the head field official wearing his battle robe was approaching from the rear of the skybox. Waving, he called out William's name. William, we have a huge problem. Saigon Lu is puking blood all over his chamber. Will, being the kind-hearted person he was, paused and thought for a moment. He wanted to allow Saigon to withdraw because he was a huge favorite to win today's battle. Plus, would that be fair to him? He had trained since he was a little boy for this day, and what made him unique was being one of the last babies to ever be born in this galaxy. The Coalition mandated 8 warriors must be in every battle, and Will knew it would be a disadvantage to his old friend. However, he put on a fake facade. He spoke firmly. No excuses. Saigon must fight. Before the official turned to leave, he stiffened up, nodded and spit out, Yes, sir, and hurried back to the stadium tunnel below the skybox. Dane glanced at Will to say, Really? But Will's expression was cold as ice. Like always, but more pronounced this time, so he kept quiet. Dane focused on the thousands of people making their way to their seats. Within seconds, Will's face relaxed. Dane could tell he was deep in his thoughts. The Coalition would choose 8 warriors to enter the battle arena every week. They called this the Resurrection. 6 of the 8 fighters would die today. Will, being one of the trainers, would get to know them very well. It took years before he could accept that they would be fighting to their death. Usually a few who thought they were invincible would volunteer while the others were appointed according to their aptitude test results. Will knew, but ignored the fact that some scored poorly but were placed in the battle arena anyways for population thinning. Most of the fighters were great at battle because they had trained their entire lives for this opportunity. For all, this was the only way off Noria 9, the smallest planet in the galaxy, which happened to be nestled between planets Xander 12A and Luna K4. The Coalition didn't want a true winner, so the last 2 warriors standing would get a bid to train on Xander 12A, the largest and first of 3 planets that followed each other closely, weaving in and out of 2 suns in a figure-8 pattern. This was an honor. Xander 12A had a mythical crystal called the Enchanted Spirit that would transform your body into your inner alien version of yourself and give you superpowers. You didn't get to choose your powers or your appearance. It was a random gamble, and most times it would make you insane. If you survived, and once your transformation and training was complete, the graduates would be transported to planet Mobay. This large planet circled the outer reaches of the galaxy and happened to be the Coalition's military installment. Will thought for a moment about how lucky he was. 7 years earlier, he was hungry and homeless and had decided that he had had enough. Will had stolen a laser pistol a few years back, but never even thought about using it for violence, just for protection. Devastated, he was down and out and thought the Coalition had suppressed the people far too long. In his mind, causing a bloody scene at a Coalition facility was the right thing to do. Prove a point, even if he wound up dead. Will finally reached his breaking point and concealed the pistol in his hoodie. He strolled through the streets like he had no care in the world towards the town hall that sat on a hill overlooking the housing. As he approached the door, the town's time bells rang out, signaling it was high noon, which meant the area would be busy. With his hand on the pistol, a weary old man dressed in a royal blue robe stepped in front of him. Will stopped in his socks to keep from slamming into him and glared deep into his weathered black eyes. For a split second they glowed of white light like a freak of nature. Will tried to step around him, but was frozen. Fear soaked his body as he focused on pulling the laser pistol out. Not through sound, but through kinesis, a voice entered Will's torn mind. "Death is among us all, but not you and not now." The old man stepped to the left and hurried away, blending into the streets with the common folk. Will, still in a trance, hung on to every word while staring at the front door. He gently pulled his hand off the pistol and out of his hoodie. Will was confused on why he was there, but proceeded through the door anyways, looking for answers. Once inside, Will removed his hood, then paused for a moment to take in the sights. A desk a few hundred feet away with a long line of 50 or more people stretched back towards him. 2 massive wood-engraved columns stood on both sides of the desk. A small black sign that read "Interview line for headkeep starts here." Will, wearing a hoodie, looked out of place, but not too much out of the norm, especially for a headkeep job. The headkeep didn't wear a uniform like most coalition personnel, and most of the time you couldn't tell who was one and who was not. The headkeep would train warriors, organize the weekly fights, keep the arena weapons in good working order, along with keeping the warriors housed and fed. Will stepped into line, still groggy, as he repeated the old man's words in his head one more time. As the line began to move, Will heard a painful groan. He leaned out of line to glance towards the desk. Simultaneously, the headkeep collapsed and disappeared behind the desk. Will waited for others to move in to help, but no one budged. Without a thought, Will sprinted past the line of people and parkoured himself over the desk, almost landing on the headkeep. Will pushed and beat on his chest until he regained consciousness, which lasted a few scary adrenalized minutes, for Will anyways. The High Counselor, the equivalent of a town mayor like on Sol 3, saw the affair from his office that overlooked the lobby. Once help arrived, the counselor sent everyone away except Will. He shook Will's hand and appointed him the new headkeep for his display of heroism. Even though Will was new in this role, the 8 warriors put on a mesmerizing display of courage in the arena that day on live feeds throughout the entire galaxy. Now it was official. He was what he despised, a coalition official, and on top of that, one that organized death. That day did change his life, though. He no longer had to worry about food or shelter, and he also met his future wife, Helen, a coalition engineer. Not a problem, just out of Will's league. Helen was gorgeous. She had a doll face that sat on her fit 5'10" frame with a family-oriented personality. You couldn't tell how strong and stout she was by the loose-fitting garb she always wore, even though she was taller than most. Just as Will was reminiscing to himself, Dane spoke up. "What would have happened to you if you let the fighter sit out?" "I don't know, but I try to keep a low profile. They surely would have investigated, and insubordination is punishable by death." Will paused, looked around to ensure no one was in earshot. "Helen's pregnant." Dane's head snapped around. "Oh my God, they'll kill her and the baby both, and probably you." "I know," Will admitted. Dane rattled off questions without waiting for an answer. "How could this happen? Is Helen immune to the injections?" Will dropped his head. I don't know what to do." "When is Helen's monthly physical?" Dane nagged. "In 3 days," Will whispered. "Well, I can hide you in the hailstorm tomorrow night for a couple of days and drop you off at Luna K4 when I make my next drop of demons. That's about the only place you could go, but you'd have to fight for your survival there." "Do you think Helen and I would have a chance?" "Hell, I could handle my own with my training, but not sure for her. They have been disposing shadow demons there for years, right?" "I can spare a few swords, laser guns, and a few days' worth of food, but that's about it. When we leave the shadow demons, they only have the skills that they acquired from the crystal. However, they are also the worst of the worst, savages, since their brains couldn't handle the transformation, basically cannibals." Do you know anything about the planet? Will asked impatiently. Yeah, sorta. It's all desert south of the equator. There's no trace of water on the surface, only accessible through wells 50 feet or more deep. North of the equator is jungle-enriched mountains full of flesh-eating creatures and, of course, the shadow demons which now run in tribes. When we land, it's about 5 kilometers from the edge of the forest. Your best bet is to head straight there and look for shelter because the heat in the desert is unbearable. Also, we never drop in the same area to avoid an ambush, so I'll make sure we are far from anywhere we've ever dropped before. I'll talk to Helen tonight and let you know in the morning. Thank you, Dane. Will sounded sincere. That concludes Chapter 1. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe.